Colburn Bible, Book 2, Gleaning, Chapter 1, Observation and Comparison to 2017, the problems that I think we're having. GLN 115. The council of the people knew well the strength of man's desire for woman. The force of the urge was not wasted, for their forebears had harnessed it to the vehicle which carried their race to greatness above others. The race which could properly channel the forces contained within itself was ready to control the forces beyond itself. The greatest forces man can harness to his benefit are those lying within himself. But the underlying strength of the people lay in the morality of its women, for this was the strength that governed, because it was the safeguard for something of value. Man strive for gold and value it because it is something not easily attained. If gold could be gathered by the handful, man would scorn it. Its power is in its scarcity. To a degree, it is correct. A society that can properly channel the forces contained within itself is ready to control forces beyond itself. It is also true humanity's greatest forces that can be harnessed is within itself. I also agree that women can have the most influence on society's moral underpinning, considering that they do raise the children. I disagree with the idea that it is solely up to women. It is teaching and actually doing what you teach that is up to both men and women. No human is an object to be attained. That goes too far for me to swallow. GLN 116. Then it happened that one man became arrogant in the strength of his manhood and pride of place. His thoughts inclined towards himself rather than towards the welfare of the people. He scorned the old ways, declaring the code and tradition an unnecessary burden laid on the backs of men. He said, "Why should we carry the burden of things which have come down to us from our fathers? How do we know they walked with wisdom? How can we say that what was good for them is good for us?" Because of his unruly speech and wayward ways, the council banished him for a time, and had he remained apart, his heart would have been humbled in wisdom. But among the children of God, there was a woman, one of the most desirable and fair, who interceded for him, so he might return to dwell among them, it being in their code that the wayward could always regain their place. Men always go through a period of arrogance. It seems in 2017, many never grow out of the childish view in their superiority over everybody else. Children of the 1960s saw no value in the old ways of doing things. They declared it was not only unnecessary, but questioned the ideal parents had any wisdom to offer, throwing out all of the old. Today, we have to pass laws to enforce morality, something that was taught by parents, instructing the young, yet instead of wondering if maybe they were wrong, they insist they just need to fine-tune it through laws. I believe we can still fix this, but we need to admit that while some things were bad in the past, it is not the code of conduct at fault, but individuals twisting that code of conduct to such a degree that you have no free will at all. The words of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran have been twisted to give legitimacy to horrible actions, to impose their will on everyone else. The Constitution is also being twisted. The document was well thought out to anticipate how to handle conflicts of ideals without tearing us apart. It basically still stands, but we have decided that parts of it slows progress. Forgetting they wisely anticipated and put blocks on rapid progress by forcing us to talk. The most important check, the amendment process, has been circumvented. So if you want change, you only need to convince 5 Supreme Court justices that the intent and not the words are what is important. Before, we needed to convince states and voters more than 50% of us. Requiring that long path was to force everyone to talk, so the biggest majority possible would allow everyone to at least believe their views were heard, and hopefully the end product will be more likely to make it succeed in doing what it was intended to do in the first place without causing any damage. The problem is, over time, we have had a knowledge drain. Many no longer understand the Electoral College, or why we have two branches of the legislature. Spoiler, there is a reason. One branch, the House of Representatives, was to represent the people's interest, while the Senate was to represent the state's interest. That is why, up till the 20th century, senators were appointed by governor, just like Supreme Court was appointed by the president. Electors per state are the same as states' representatives and senators. The two votes every state gets is to protect the smaller minority states from the tyranny of the majority. GLN 117. The woman sought him out in the wilderness, and coming upon him said, "Though because of my heart you appear to me as the finest of men, in the eyes of the elders you were unworthy to claim me. Therefore I have spoken for you. Now come, go before them yourself, and say, the wilderness has changed your ways. By so doing, you will find favor with the council, and, perchance, I may become your mate. The strength and courage I admire place you high in the regard of men, and in favor with the elders. But your wayward and inconsiderate spirit is unworthy of your body, though you find favor in the eyes of the young and foolish women, who see only the outwardness of your body, and thereby become more foolish. The eyes of the wise woman see your naked spirit, and are not deceived. Therefore, disregard the glances of foolish maidens, and carry yourself well. Act in such manner that you find favor in the sight of the wise woman. And said she, Am I not Maya, the most desirable of women, one whom all men seek? Yet will I remain reserved only for you. Therefore, be not unworthy of me." This should be a hopeful text, but Maya, to me, is advising the man to lie, and eventually she'll be allowed to marry him. So she also shows arrogance and disregards wisdom to get what she wants. You cannot fix someone, you can only encourage them. They must figure out the best path, even though what she advised was best for him. We do not know if he already decided that or just said what he needed to get his way. Maya also seems to be showing a lack of humility by disparaging the women she thinks are flawed in character. We should all keep in mind that wisdom starts with acknowledging you can be wrong and showing tolerance. No one is entitled just because of their birth or looks. How can you convince others if you can't allow them to participate in the discussion? I know I went a little off the reservation. I just think that in 2017, we have really gotten to the point where we're just refusing to talk to anybody else that don't agree with us. And this idea of using fake news as somehow or another to turn free speech into hate speech is a problem that I think we need to avoid going down that path. Thank you.